So good morning, everybody. It's nice to have you back with us again for day 3, and it's the final day already. How did we get there so quickly? If you're watching from KPC, it's great to have you with us. If you're watching from Nolan Dorridge or further afield, welcome to day 3.
And hello, yes, to anyone from Christchurch, Chilwell, or St Barnabas in Nook, or indeed the local community from around here, or actually from anywhere at all, because I think we've probably had people joining us from all over. It's great to see you. And yeah, day 3, how has that happened?
I don't know, but let's just remind ourselves where we've got to so far. So on day 1, there were some vegetables involved. Daniel and his friends stuck with the plan of just eating the vegetables and drinking the water. Day 2, Daniel's friends get themselves into a slightly heated situation of the fiery furnace, but they chose to keep following God. And so where are we going today, Katrina?
Well, I think so today we find ourselves in Daniel 6 and kind of carrying on. And another one of these sticky situations for Daniel, that he finds himself in a place, a bit of a scary place, I think, with a lion. And kind of we have to kind of see what happens there and kind of what direction that takes. And so thinking about directions, Sarah, I've been thinking, have you ever been really, really lost?
Oh yes, I can remember a time where I was really, really lost. So it was quite a few years ago when I was living in West Sussex, and I hadn't been there for very long, and I was heading off somewhere for the day, and the route got changed on me because there'd been a really bad accident, and so I was diverted back through a place called Brighton. Many of you will have heard of it, some of you will have been there. Well, I probably spent the best part of an hour and a half going round in circles in Brighton. It was just crazy. I could not find my way out. I was following signs, and I got to this diversion sign, and one arrow pointed one way and one arrow pointed the other way, and I didn't know which direction to take. So I have to admit, I confessed, I gave up and I went home.
Okay. Yeah, funnily enough, mine is a story about Sussex as well.
Oh,
Sussex. But me and my family, we'd gone for a walk on the forest, in Ashdown Forest, and we'd started at one car park and we thought we'd go in a kind of circular route. And we walked and we walked, and we could see on the horizon what we thought was the car park, and we thought that's fine and we'll get back. But we got to this car park and it was a completely different place.
no.
And so we had wandered for hours and we didn't know what direction really we'd gone in, and we got really quite lost. And in the end, we remembered that really we should be able to bring up a map on our phone. We found the map, and we had gone really quite a long way out of our way. So we had a lot more walking to do in the dark before we could get back to the car. We were very lost.
Oh dear. So today we're thinking a little bit about direction, and we're going to find out about a direction that Daniel had to choose to go in, no matter what situation it landed him up in. But for now, we're going to join together with some worship. So clear some space, make some room, and join us with the jumping around if you would like to.
Safe to shore. before us, you're the brightest. You will lead us through the storm. Far before us, you're the brightest. You will lead us through the storm. My lighthouse, shining in the darkness, I will follow you. Oh, my lighthouse, I will trust the promise. You will carry me safe to shore, safe to shore, safe to shore, safe to shore.
So today I need to introduce you to a new king. Today we're in the reign of Darius the Mede. We've left King Ned behind and we're in the reign of Darius the Mede. Now he had a plan to split his kingdom into 120 different provinces, different areas, and there was going to be somebody different who was going to lead each area. And this is where Daniel, our friend Daniel from this week, comes in. King Mede really liked Daniel. He liked what he and some of the others that were friends with Daniel did. He liked how they did their job, and so he had a plan to place him over the entire empire. Well, some of the other administrators and officials heard about this and they weren't too impressed because they were jealous. They didn't want Daniel to be doing that job. They wanted that job. And so they set about trying to make a plan to think, now, how can we stop that? So they put their head in their hands. They thought to themselves, they pondered, and then they thought, I know, we'll find a problem with how Daniel does his job. So they thought about it and they looked and they realised that that wasn't going to work either because Daniel was trustworthy. Daniel was responsible. Daniel was faithful. And in every way that he had to do his job, he did all the right things. There was no way in the world they could trip him up. So they had to go back to the drawing board and think again. So they put their head in their hands and they thought and they pondered. Said one of them, I know, we will have to find something to do with his religion. That's the answer. That's how we're going to trip him up. So they went to the king and they said to the king, we think you should make a new law. We think you should tell everybody for the next 30 days they are not allowed to pray to anybody, any gods, but you, king. You are the person we need to bow down and worship. You are the person we need to pray to. Everybody has to follow your law. And if they don't, we think you should throw them into a pit of lions. And the king thought about it and thought, I quite like the sound of that. Everybody worshipping me for 30 days. Okay. So he signed the law, and it meant that it couldn't be changed. Nothing could be done about it. Well, Daniel heard about this, and he had a decision to make. He had to decide whether he was going to follow this law or he was going to follow God. Well, we've already seen Daniel choosing to do the right thing, haven't we? And once again, that's what he did. He went home. He went to the place where he prayed, opened the window so that everybody could see, and continued to pray to his God. 3 times a day, facing Jerusalem, Daniel would pray to God. He didn't stop praying to his God, and he didn't start worshipping the king instead. Well, these sneaky officials and administrators had caught Daniel. They'd been watching to see what would he do. And the minute that he went back and prayed to God, they went running off to the king and said, now, King Mede, King Darius, isn't it true that you made a law that said for the next 30 days everybody has to pray to you and worship you? Yes, said the king, I did make that law. Well, that Daniel, he hasn't been doing that. He's been continuing to pray to his God, so now you have to throw him in the lion's den. Said the king. He didn't want to do that because he liked Daniel and he knew that Daniel did his job properly. So he spent a day to himself thinking, how can I possibly get Daniel out of this? What can I do to stop this? Well, the administrators came back to him at the end of the day and said, there isn't anything you can do. You made the law. There is nothing you can do to change it. Daniel has to go to the lions. And the king knew that's exactly what he had to do. So Daniel was scurried away and thrown into the lion's den. The king couldn't sleep all night. He couldn't eat, he couldn't sleep, so worried about knowing that he'd thrown Daniel to the lions when he did not deserve it. So early next morning he gets up and goes back to the lion's den and he calls out, "Daniel, is there any chance your God has saved you?" And to his amazement and surprise, he hears a voice reply to him. "My God has protected me. My God has saved me. He kept the mouths of these lions shut and I am safe." So they let Daniel out and they checked him over bit by bit to make sure there wasn't one single mark on him. The lions had gone nowhere near him. God had protected him. So the king decided that these sneaky officials who tried to set Daniel up needed to pay the price. So they got thrown into the lion's den, and the lions' mouths were not closed this time. So you can imagine what happened. They were gobbled up, all by the lions. King Darius then said, "Everybody in my kingdom must remember that Daniel's God is a mighty God. Daniel's God is a true God. He has protected him and we must worship him."
So, Lucy, that was an exciting story, wasn't it?
Yeah.
About Daniel in the lion's den, that he'd followed what God wanted him to do, and he knew it was dangerous, but he did it anyway, and he got thrown in with the lions, and then God looked after him and closed the mouth of the lions. Now today, this is one of my favourite stories because there are so many things you can do with crafts. To make a lion, you can make your own lion mask, or you could make a lion out of pom-poms if you could make pom-poms at home. But we're going today, aren't we, Lucy? We're going to make a lion out of a cardboard tube that will end up looking something like this. So I'm going to let Lucy lead us through our craft today.
First, you need to draw the outline of your front and back pieces like this. Use the straight edge of the card to help. Cut your outlines out, be careful with scissors. You should now have two shapes like this. Now you need to make small snips in your cardboard tube like this. When you have done both ends, fold the snips in and glue your shapes to either end, making sure it will stand up, then leave to dry. Now you have the basic shape of your lion. On paper, draw around your lion's head, then add spikes around it to make a mane. If you are using white paper, colour it in, or use collage materials like wool. Cut it out. You should have a shape a bit like this. Glue it behind your lion's head. You may need to trim the bottom to make it fit. Finally finish decorating your lion by adding a face. I have drawn mine on paper and stuck it on.
So Lucy, you have made a brilliant lion, and people at home could make their lions a bit differently, couldn't they? They could cover the cardboard as they go along, or they could use felt, couldn't they?
Yeah.
Or what else could they use for mane, do you think?
Maybe string?
They could use string or wool, or even those little pasta twirls would look great, wouldn't they, around the back there? But we would love to see your lions when you've made them. So yeah, I think we might add a bit more decoration, might add some things to his tail, but that is the basic lion shape. Now, can I tell you a fact about lions, Lucy?
Yeah.
How long do you think lions sleep for? How long do you sleep for? That's probably a good question first.
10 hours?
Yeah, you sleep for about 10 hours. Now, lions can sleep anything up to 20 hours in a day. And if they've had a really big meal, like they've eaten a whole antelope or something, then they can sleep for a whole 24 hours, a whole day, without waking up. And that's because they're cats. Cats like to sleep lots.
Yeah.
So lions, yes, are a bit scary. They can be a bit scary, but actually they're just big cats and they sleep quite a lot of the day. Now, one of my favourite films, Lucy, is The Lion King. I love the Disney animated version. And I think it's got a really good story in it, hasn't it?
Yeah.
About actually that, I'm not going to spoil it for everyone in case anyone's not seen it, but it's a really good story about learning about who you are and who you're made to be, which is what we need to do, isn't it, as well, to find out who God has made us to be. So shall we go and find somewhere for our lion to go and have fun?
Yeah.
And once we've done that, let's all worship and sing another song together.
Noah built the most enormous boat, kept the birds and animals afloat. The Lord was good, the Lord was strong, Noah lived his life for him. Moses led his people through the sea, taking them away from slavery. The Lord was good, the Lord was strong, and Moses lived his life for him. Oh, thank you, and all through history you paid. Oh, thank you, and you are just the same when it comes to me, when it comes to me. David fought Goliath and he won. The humble shepherd boy became a king. The Lord was good, the Lord was strong, and David lived his life for him. Daniel was inside the lion's den, but God brought him to safety once again. The Lord was good, the Lord was strong, and Daniel lived his life for him. Oh, thank you, when all through history you paid. Oh, thank you, all are just the same when it comes to me, when it comes to me.
heard our story, we've done our craft, and we know that Daniel got himself into a sticky situation with some lions. But what can we learn from the story, Katrina?
Well, as we were talking about earlier, Sarah, about direction, that actually Daniel had to choose, didn't he? He had to choose which way he went. Did he kind of go down the line of kind of just doing what that law had said, which was to stop praying and to worship someone who wasn't God? Or did he do what God had asked him to do, even though actually that was risky for him? And he chose that. He chose to follow God. And he landed himself up in a den with a lion. But of course, God protected him. God protected him because he had been faithful and that he had followed and done what he was supposed to do in following God. And God protected Daniel. And of course, he protects us too when we follow him and do what he asks and calls us to do. And he does protect us. And it is important to remember that he protects us when we are doing the right things. And that we have a responsibility to be sensible too. So I'm not suggesting that anyone goes and jumps into a cage with some lions. That wouldn't be a very good idea at all.
I think that's a good thing, yeah. No, I don't.
I think so. So, Sarah, there are various things that could have got in the way of Daniel following God. That we've had these 3 stories, and I think we've got our answer, haven't we, about what they have in common. And they're all about following God through the things that could throw us off, the things that could distract us and take us away from following. So for you, Sarah, what kind of things do you think might get in the way of you following God? And kind of what situations maybe might he be asking you and everybody else actually to trust him in?
Good questions. Well, I guess some of the things that might get in the way for me are when I allow myself to be distracted by other things that maybe become more important to me. We talked a bit about that yesterday, didn't we? And actually, even sometimes just being so busy doing stuff for God that I forget to focus on actually listening to what he wants me to do. So those are some of the things that can get in the way, I guess. And I guess what we need to do is to think about, okay, so what is God asking me to do to keep following him? What is the thing that he's saying to me right now you need to keep doing to follow him? And maybe for some of us, he's asking us to talk to our friends more about Jesus, particularly at the moment when people feel a bit uncertain about what's going on. Maybe if you're a little bit older, he's asking you to think about what you might be doing with your life and how you might be serving him. Maybe for us as adults, he's asking about how we serve our churches, how we serve our communities. Maybe if you've not really heard much about God before, he's actually asking you to think about whether you even believe in him. There are lots of things he could be asking of each of us. It's a very different journey for each of us, but it's all about, as you said, following what he's calling us to do.
Yeah, and there are lots of things, aren't there? Lots of things that we need to trust him in today, at the moment, in the situation we find ourselves in, for kind of our safety and the safety of our friends and our family. But following God is following what we've been told to do to keep each other and ourselves safe, I think, in that. So Sarah, do you think is it time for a stretch? Is it time for us to kind of get active? And
I think one last worship song together to get our bodies moving about a bit. So clear some space, jump up, and we'll be back in a moment.
Our God is a great big God. Our God is a great big God. Our God is a great big God, and he holds us in his hands. deeper than a submarine. He's wider than the universe and beyond my wildest dream. And he's known me and he's loved me since before the world began. How wonderful to be a part of God's amazing plan. Our God is a great big God. Our God is a great big God. Our God is a great big God, and He holds us in His hands. And He holds us in His hands. And He holds us in His hands.
So as we come to the end of our time together this morning and our time together for this week, let's pray together. Father God, thank you that we've all been able to join in with Holiday Club this week, no matter where we are, from all of our different homes and all of the different places we might be watching from. Thank you that we've been able to be part of your family and all watch together and take part together. Thank you for that reminder that Daniel and his friends knew that God was with them no matter what situations they found themselves in. And by keeping you as their priority, you protected them, you helped them, you guided them. So help us to remember to keep you as the priority, the most important thing in our lives. Amen.
So we're just about coming to the end of our time together today, but that also means we're coming to the end of our week together as well. And I think, as Katrina's mentioned, we got the answer to our question: what do vegetables, lions and fire have in common? Well, they have in common that we find the stories of them in the book of Daniel, in the Bible, but they're also all about helping us to understand that we need to follow God, and asking us to do that in different circumstances for each of us, finding out what that means for me, finding out what that means for you, but learning to follow God in wherever we find ourselves placed. So yeah, that's the end of our holiday club together. We hope you've really enjoyed it. If you aren't connected with us but you've loved watching us this week, make sure you join the KPC social media or the Christchurch Chilwell social media, and yeah, we'd love to hear from you, wouldn't we, Katrina?
We really would. And it's been great, hasn't it, Sarah? It's given us lots to think about and lots to take away and to take into the coming weeks. It's been really, really great to meet together. And we would love to know and to hear what you have thought at home of Holiday Club, so that we can we might even do this again. Who knows?
Who knows?
Nice. But it'd be great to have some feedback, and we'd love to see pictures of your crafts and of you doing actions and that kind of stuff, because that'd be really good, wouldn't it?
It would be great to see that. Yeah, really, really would be. So do send those in to myself or Katrina. But for now, thank you for being with us. Thank you for joining in with us, and we'll see you soon. Bye.